Hi, my name is Anastasia Lukianov. This is my capstone final project. I wrote about restorative justice in the criminal justice system. This will just be an overview of the major topics that I discussed within my paper. Introduction to restorative justice. It seeks to repair harm caused by crime. It involves offenders, victims, and the community altogether. Focuses on rehabilitation and reintegration. Alternative to traditional punitive approaches, aims to address root causes of criminal behavior. Retributive versus restorative justice. So retributive focuses more on punishment. It is a state-centered process, aims to deter crime through punishment, while restorative emphasizes healing and repair, and involves all affected parties, aims to deter crime by creating an understanding of what led to the crime and taking measures not to go back to wrongdoing. So pretty much it's repairing harm, a better alternative to punishment. The historical origins of restorative justice are the roots in indigenous justice systems, resurgence in Western law in recent decades, influenced by communitarian ideals. It allowed a shift from a punitive to a reparative approach, has been gaining traction globally since the 1970s. The key principles of restorative justice. So victim-centered focus, offender accountability and responsibility, community involvement, repairing harm caused by crime, promoting dialogue and understanding. So restoration, voluntarism, impartiality, safety, accessibility, and empowerment. Victim-centered focus. So it prioritizes victims' needs and healing, gives victims a voice in the justice process, which is actually very important for both the victim and the judges or jury to help them understand what happened to the victim themselves. It aims to reduce post-traumatic stress, increases victim satisfaction with outcomes, and promotes direct communication with the offenders. Offender accountability and responsibility. So it encourages offenders to face consequences of their actions, promotes empathy and understanding of harm caused, involves reparation work by offenders, avoids purely punitive shaming, supports rehabilitation and reintegration. So the community involvement, it engages the community in the justice process, addresses broader social issues contributing to crime, promotes collective responsibility for crime prevention, strengthens community bonds and safety, provides support for both victims and offenders. So there's a Venn diagram of community, offender, and victim, and a triangle that says restorative justice and accountability, and pretty much anything that involves community. So restorative justice practices, victim-offender mediation, family group conferencing, sentencing circles, community reparative boards, and restorative dialogues. So there's a Venn diagram again of the individual restorative practices. There's some for victim reparation, communities of care, reconciliation, and offender responsibility. And then all in the middle is for restorative justice, peace circles, family group conferencing, and community conferencing.
I have a question.
Okay.
Are there any benefits? Like, have you been able to see any benefits from each of these practices, or is that something that kind of takes more time?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I think that is our next slide.
Oh, perfect.
So the benefits of restorative justice are they reduce recidivism rates, increased victim satisfaction, offender rehabilitation and reintegration, cost-effective compared to incarceration, and strengthen community relationships. So you have building and strengthening relationships, repairing harm done to individuals, relationships, and communities, restoring peace to families and communities, reducing violence, and promoting healing. So reduce recidivism rates. Offenders understand the impact of their actions, promotes empathy and responsibility, addresses root causes of criminal behavior, provides support to reintegration, and shows better outcomes than traditional justice. So prison education and recidivism. Cost of prison education, spending $1 per prisoner on prison education saves $4 to $5 in the future for decreased rates of recidivism. The recidivism rates. The U.S. spends $31,000 to incarcerate someone every year. Prison education reduces the 54% and recidivism rate by 40%. So, increase victim satisfaction and healing. Victims feel heard and acknowledged. Reduces post-traumatic stress symptoms. Allows victims to ask questions and seek closure. Promotes forgiveness and healing. Higher satisfaction compared to court processes. Offender rehabilitation and reintegration. Focuses on understanding and changing behavior. Provides opportunities for making amends. Supports development of empathy, addresses underlying issues such as substance abuse or abuse within a family, facilitates community acceptance and support. And the next one would be overview of challenges and critiques. Power imbalances and coercion concerns, perceived lack of accountability and punishment, difficulty scaling up and integrating into existing systems, potential for re-traumatization of victims, inconsistent implementation and outcomes. Power imbalances and coercion concerns, risk of victim intimidation in serious offenses, potential pressure on offenders to participate, concerns about fairness and outcomes, challenge of ensuring voluntary participation, and need for skilled facilitation to manage the dynamics. Perceived lack of accountability and punishment. Criticism of being too soft on crime. Balancing rehabilitation with public safety concerns, addressing victims' desire for retribution, ensuring meaningful consequences for offenders, and communicating effectiveness to the public. So empathy, honest expression, asking questions, the art of request, and mindfulness is all the skills of restorative. Implementation challenges. Resistance from the traditional justice system, limited resources and funding, lack of trained professionals, inconsistent application across jurisdictions, difficulty measuring long-term impacts. Pathways to wider adoption, policy reforms. Legislative changes to support restorative practices, integration into existing criminal justice processes, development of quality assurance frameworks, funding allocation for restorative programs, creation of national standards and guidelines. So stage 1 is referral received. The provider assesses the referral. Stage 2, initial contact made. Participants are informed of the process. Stage 3, pre-conference. Conference suitability is assessed. Stage 4, conference. The restorative justice conference takes place. Conference outcomes are explored. Stage 5, post-conference. Conference agreements are monitored when applicable. A conference report is provided. This can help us see what changes all of this could make and how it could help our justice system. Training and education for restorative justice professionals. Restorative justice principles and practices, facilitation and conflict resolution skills, understanding trauma-informed approaches, cultural competency and sensitivity, ethical considerations in restorative processes. So tier 1 is build, strengthen relationships, community building circles. Tier 2 is repair relationships, restorative circles, and tier 3 is reentry support circles. So the conclusion, the future of restorative justice. growing acceptance in criminal justice systems, potential for broader application beyond criminal cases, continued research on long-term effectiveness, balancing with traditional justice approaches, and transformative potential for individuals and communities. Any questions?
Yeah, I have another question. Going back to the slide about the training for the professionals, is that going to be something that's going to be a separate like profession that you can have for these restorative ones, or is that something that if you're a psychiatrist or in that field already, you can just take these practices and be qualified for it?
You can be qualified if you are a psychiatrist or a therapist, but I believe in this case you should have some kind of extra training and you should have some kind of test to make sure that you can speak with all of these offenders and be able to help them in any way that you can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.